We're on. So, welcome everybody. Today's interview I am doing with my friend Tamela Sargeant, and she has got a pretty fascinating story. I put in the headline that she went from corporate to cakes to culinary classes, and I was kind of using all my C words. So, I'll let her tell her story. But we are live on Facebook and in my Facebook group and also on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. So if you are a Facebook user and you haven't signed into StreamYard before, if you signed in on your laptop, your phone, whatever to StreamYard before, you don't have to do this again. But if this is your first time, I'm going to give you a link and you can just go to that link real quick. And it basically gives StreamYard permission to show your profile picture and your name. Otherwise, if you make a comment, it'll say Facebook user, which is fine. If you wanted to just say Facebook user, that's okay. We would just rather know who you are. So I'll pop in that link and I'm going to let Tamela introduce herself and tell us a little bit about the business she's got going right now.
All right. Well, good morning. Thank you, Valerie, for the invite. This is so fun. My name is Tamela Sargeant, and I am the owner founder of the Art of Food Culinary Center. And I do teach students how to cook and bake ages 8 to 12 and then 13 to 17. Occasionally, I do have adult classes, and I do teach out of my home. I also have a side gig, which is bucket list cakes. I've been doing that for about 8 years. So it's been a lot of fun, an interesting journey, as what you said. But it's been so exciting and a lot of fun. And so I thought it'd be fun to do my interview here in my kitchen, where those little dreams can make a big reality in our lives.
Yes, I love the fact that you're doing it in your kitchen. That's so perfect. So, if you guys wondered if that is like, a virtual backdrop, it's not. It's actually Tamela's kitchen. I've been there. So it seems most appropriate.
Right.
So, Tamela, what were you doing? I know you've had the bucket list cakes going for quite a while, but what were you doing before all of this? Tell us about the job that you were in.
Okay. So, kind of to back up how I got to through all of that, um, I've always loved cooking. It's just those things that I kind of taught myself, but then also with my grandma and my mom, my siblings, my sisters, cooking just been a fun thing in our lives. So, I've even, done little dinner parties where we cook, and I've taught women to cook in my kitchen. I've had classes for Bible studies. So it's just been something fun that I love to do. But then, when life hits and you have to go back to work, I did have to go back to work. My kids, I had children, but I had to go back to the corporate world. And so I went into the mortgage industry and thought, oh my goodness, what am I doing? But, it was the time where God provided that job. And so I did it with my full heart. And, my strong suit is administration. So I did that in the mortgage industry for about 12 and a half years. However, at the 7-year mark is when I really became anxious. Um, I love change. And so
Mhm.
for me to stay in a business longer than 5 years is really a challenge for me because I really struggle with contentment because I do love change. So I think through that corporate time, the Lord just taught me so many things. The biggest is I had to really look at my attitude because I knew
Mhm.
that there was something more. I wanted to get off of that hamster wheel that every day is the same thing every day, and I wanted to be creative. I'm born into a very creative family. My dad's an entrepreneur, my mom's creative, my siblings all business people. So that dream of being creative was just in me. So when my daughter suggested, let's do, mom, you need to bake professionally. I said, well, you take it and run and I'll follow your lead. Because, as your children, of course you believe in them. But when it comes to big dreams like that, it's like, that sounds great and all, but you take it and I'll follow. Well, she did. So
Mhm.
we got a Facebook account. And so we started doing cakes. And that's how Bucket List Cakes was born, so to speak. So we've been doing bucket list cakes all these years for clients and weddings and birthdays, all kinds of celebrations, which have been a lot of fun because that was my side gig of being creative.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved that. And so I'm still in the corporate world at that time because, again, that was at the 7-year mark where I was just like, I need something more. So through the corporate um, world of feeling just anxious and just that stirring to do something, I wasn't sure what to do because sometimes in my life anyway, I look for the big picture. And then that big picture is like, I can't achieve that big picture because it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm a planner. And so if it doesn't make sense on paper and all your to-dos, then that big plan is just too overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So there I sat in the corporate chair, um, working on my attitude, being thankful every day for my job and the people, and but still that just strong stirring that there is something more.
Yeah.
So it was interesting because about 2 years ago, well, yeah, about a year and a half, I have a friend that she contacted me and she said, Tamela, I have a friend that she has a great idea and we want to meet with you. And I said, okay. So we met, and her idea was that she's a homeschool mom. And she said there is such a need out in the homeschool and the student area for our students to be taught cooking and baking. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, I can do that. I can
Mm-hmm.
teach kids to cook and bake. And so the more they talked, it was just that stirring and that fire within, like, I can do that. That is something that I can take the skills that I have and then implement it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. I just started writing on paper, and it was just like, I just love how God puts things in our hearts. And then when you just start walking in those little steps, things just started falling into place on paper. So then it started exciting me because I was seeing those things on paper. And then I was like, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still in the corporate world, working crazy at night with, trying to get things in making sense. And that's when I just really felt like, um, how bad do you want change? How bad do you
Yeah.
want? I was
Oh,
like, I want it so bad.
yes.
you know. But then I jumped back on the risk. Oh my goodness, my safe hamster wheel. This is safe. I know this job. I know it. But over on this side, it's like, how bad do you want change? And I really wanted it bad. So then that's when I was just like, Lord, take away all my fear. But then I was like, you know what? As much as I have faith, sometimes we have to do things afraid. And
Yeah.
that's when I was like, I got to just do this afraid. I just got to jump and I got to do the hard. So that's when I was like, hon, we're going to do the hard. So we were, my son in law had this great friend that he actually builds websites.
Mm-hmm.
So I contacted him. He helped me to build the website in the evenings. We were just like busy beavers over here as I worked corporate during the day. And he helped us build a great website. It's been so fun to develop. And again, I just had to keep that focus that, little dreams can make a big reality. It doesn't, because again, in my life, I kept looking at the big stuff, and plus I look at other people that I admire and they have the big, those big dreams, but I haven't taken the time to ask, how did you get to those big dreams, right?
Yeah. They started somewhere. They started somewhere.
Exactly. But in
I'm
my
going to interrupt
mind,
you just for a second, Tamela. I'm going to interrupt you because I just put your website on the bottom of the screen. It's
okay.
theartoffoods.net.
Mhm.
And I got to say, your website is one of the most beautiful websites I've ever seen. It's
Thank
absolutely
you.
gorgeous. And her newsletter, too. You guys need to get signed up. Go to the website. It's got all the information for all her different stuff, and you can sign up for her newsletter there, too. And it's just absolutely gorgeous. It's like a feast for the eyes, which is appropriate since you do what you do.
I like that. Thank you.
Okay, so continue.
So, yeah, so I just kept pursuing, just working hard with the website. And, again, I'm kind of really focusing on homeschool students so that I can provide those baking and cooking classes during the day when the students, need it during the day. However, I have other students that come from regular schools that attend as well. So what I did was, I just figured out or actually my girlfriend and my friends that are just Beth and Stacy have been just amazing, along with, I have to say, my family. Of course,
Mhm.
my family and husband and all my family have been just the greatest and biggest support. Obviously, I couldn't do this without them. But, it's just taking those little steps of where can I connect? And so again, instead of looking at the big picture, Beth said, why don't you do the homeschool convention?
Mhm.
And I was like, brilliant.
Mhm.
So that's really
Dip
where
your
it
toe in the
started.
water.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's where, my name got out there, was the convention. Again, just little things. So I made this little, my business card, which I think is just so fun. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a mini with. And so on that is my business card, but it's the QR code. So
Mhm.
it's very simple. And my motto is, please sign up and don't risk missing out.
Isn't that great?
So it's just something simple. It didn't take major advertising. It
Mhm.
was just something little. I gave it to the homeschool program. And from that point is where things just started happening. Students started signing up and coming and coming. So after I was still at the corporate world starting this, I did go part-time, which was really a big step of faith. It
Mhm.
was, but I still did it afraid. That's where I kept thinking, I'm still fearful, so it must not be right.
What do you think the biggest fear was? Was it like giving up the financial security and what if this doesn't work? Or is it I'm starting over and I'm so competent in what I do now and I'm not sure, even though you love the cooking and the baking and stuff, can I really teach or will I find customers or will I be able to what do you think was the biggest fear?
I think two fears was, the first one, like you said, financial,
Mhm.
because I was like, oh my stars, I need to do this, but I do trust the Lord, but I just need to do this. But my second fear for my life is always fear of failure.
Mhm.
So that's why I was like, I don't want to fail. Because
Mhm.
again, looking at that big picture in life, it's like, to get to that point, I know I'm going to fail. But, I just been encouraged by the Lord to take the little steps.
Mhm.
And those are my biggest fears, is the financial and then fear of failure.
Mhm. So your first step was kind of just first of all listening to your friends that
Mhm.
said, "We have a good idea for you." And just as a
Mhm.
side note, I've known Tamela for a long time. We have been pushing her into this forever and ever and ever. It seems like we knew she wasn't gonna fail,
Oh,
but
you're
she
so
had to
kind.
get over that self-doubt herself.
True.
Couldn't do that for her. But, so your first kind of,
Mhm.
baby step was just listening to them and saying, "This
Mhm.
resonates with my spirit. This is who I
Mhm.
was gifted to be, and this
Right.
is, really what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing." And then
Mhm.
you went to the homeschool convention. So it
Mhm.
wasn't like you had to have it all figured out A to Z from the very
No.
beginning.
And
And
I'm
then
still figuring it out,
yeah.
because even as I do things, I figure out, okay, that didn't work. That
Mhm,
scheduling or that class
mhm.
that did not work.
Yeah, for whatever.
That was not a good idea for those little kids. Um, I'm still I'm still working things out, but that's
Mhm,
where I'm just really learning to give myself grace and
mhm,
not think of that as a failure. But that's a big step for me. So that's where I'm like, okay, I just got to take these little steps every day, every week, every class, and just enjoy it. And
mhm,
that's where I've been just trying to learn that in this process, that life isn't about having it all written out,
mhm,
which that's my personality.
mhm.
So for me to let that go and enjoy the class. So when flour comes flying out of the mixing bowl, because I've told those students many times, start at the low speed and they
Yeah.
crank it to 8. Um,
That's more fun.
oh, it's so fun being covered with flour and cocoa powder
Yeah,
and eggs on our feet. It's fun.
yeah.
Um,
Do you have
but
a
until
cleaning crew that
then,
comes in after your class?
you're looking at her. Oh my heavens. But yeah, it's just every step is a learning thing. Every day
Mhm,
is just learning, and keep believing in myself. Keep Being excited. I think every class just looking at it is exciting because it is. These
Mhm.
students, it's been fun to see them come in and build their confidence. Students that continue to come. I'm just so excited for the students that now beg to cut the onions when
Oh
before
gosh.
they're like, oh, heck no. And they're like, I want to cut the onions because they have built that confidence. And the moms are saying, oh,
Right.
my word, they dice those onions better than I do.
Yeah.
So seeing that and just hearing them what they cooked and baked has just been so exciting.
Yeah. And you said, you mentioned a few minutes ago that like in your family, you have, your dad's an entrepreneur. You have a very creative, sphere of influence around you. Were you the baker and the cook and everything when you were a kid? Were you in the kitchen all the
The
time?
funny thing, I wasn't.
No?
Um, my grandma she was like the Martha Stewart of her time.
Mhm.
So it was just inspirational. But my older sisters, like my one sister, she can bake anything up the storm without a recipe. Treva does all kinds. She's got amazing salsa. And then my other sister, she does the artisan breads. And so
Mhm.
she's an amazing baker. I don't got time for that. Punch it down and it rise, punch it down. She's got that patience. And my mom, she loves cooking and stuff. But my passion when I was young was sewing. I
Mhm.
was a seamstress. So I did sewing. I didn't really get into the baking and cooking until after I was married with kids.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's when I just was like, oh my word, I absolutely love it. So I'm self-taught and I love reading cookbooks. I'm that geek about, I love cookbooks and magazines, but that's how I've learned. I've learned so much
Yeah.
and I just love learning. I love learning new techniques and tricks and I can't wait to teach them.
Yeah, and I know there's a difference between baking and cooking too, because I am a horrible
Mhm.
baker. Because I don't wanna measure anything, I just want to throw things in, and I know how it's supposed to feel or how I want it to, and I smell it and go, "Oh, it needs more of this or more of that." So when I make something and somebody asks me for my recipe, I'm like, I'm gonna have to get back to you on that because I have to get it out of
Yeah.
my head." And
Yeah.
literally, I will be like, "Oh, I'm gonna just make this recipe," and I'll stick a measuring cup, under it to see, "Oh, that was a half a cup because I don't know. I was just so I'm not a good baker. My things don't come out because it needs to be a little more precise.
Yeah. Baking is definitely a science. So
Yes.
I don't mess around with the baking, but the cooking, I'm the same way. My daughter actually, it's funny because when they're like, Mom, this dish is so good, my daughter's like, well, enjoy it because that'll be the
I
only
can't make it
time you
again.
test
It
because
never
we're
will
the
turn out
same.
the same. Yeah, that's funny. So for all my coaching, I'm gonna step aside for a second. For all of my coaching people that are watching that, I hope you just caught what Tamela said about, zeroing in on your niche because she loves the baking, the cooking, the reading cookbooks and stuff, but she doesn't want to do the bread because that's just like, no, I don't have the patience for it. It's too, I want results.
True.
So that's like
Yeah.
zeroing in on who you want to
Mhm.
serve. So
Very true.
that's funny. So like when your kids were younger, did you teach them how to cook? Or did
Um,
you just do it all yourself?
Well, I had them be my sous chef,
Yeah.
but, they would be in the kitchen with me, it wasn't like I'm teaching the students now, but the
Mhm.
great thing is, my daughter's an amazing cook. She's an amazing baker. Actually, she took on the sourdough baking, so
Mhm.
now it's fabulous because I just, text her, "Hey, we're gonna have family dinner. Can you bring
Bring
sourdough?"
sourdough. Yeah.
I've got the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And then my boys, yeah, Spencer is a great cook. He loves the gourmet kind of stuff, which is fun,
Mhm.
and the grilling and
Mhm.
same with my youngest son. He loves the briskets and the grilling and all that. So they all have their little niches of what they like.
And Scott
So
just
it's
gets to
fun.
eat.
Yes. And when he does family dinner, he was assigned family dinners, and Wednesday night would be grilled cheese sandwich and tomato soup. So after a while, I could only have so much of that.
That's the extent of her husband's repertoire,
Yes, but
is
I was
grilled
always
cheese and
so
tomato.
thankful, but I'm like, if I
Tom
had
and
another
she.
bowl or his
That's really
famous
cool.
egg sandwiches. My
Yeah.
kids still love those famous egg sandwiches, so
And you know what? The funny thing is, though, it becomes something like that becomes so traditional. If he ever tried to mix it up and do something like BLTs and chicken noodle, they would have been like, "Dad, what are you doing?
it's so true.
we
Actually,
we like knowing what to expect."
I even got bored of the tomato soup, so I started adding the basil and all this stuff, and they're like, "What'd you add?"
This
I'm
doesn't
like,
taste right.
"I know."
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
You're fun.
So yeah, and it sounds like you've connected like with a lot of people outside, that you don't necessarily know how to do everything, but it's
Mhm,
like things just fall into place sometimes. Like your son
mhm,
knowing somebody that built websites and,
mhm,
somebody is good at
mhm,
this or good at that. And right before we
mhm.
started, we were having a few tech issues. So Scott ran in and fixed some of the tech stuff and whatever. So
Yeah,
it seems like it's almost like as you need people to for support, they just kind
mhm.
of come into your life.
It's really true, and you also have to ask, that's another thing for my personality is I'm a doer, so I just wanna
Hmm.
get it done. If I have to ask people, I feel like I'm a bother or inconvenience, not that they've made me feel that way, it's just my personality. So, it's just I had to start asking, and then, my suggestion too for people that are stepping out is get your tribe, get
Yeah.
people that really believe in you, and they don't have like a jealous motive or there's
Hmm.
something, what's in it for me? Because when you're so focused on really getting your business going, you need your tribe there to
Hmm.
just be your best cheerleaders and just, I mean, they have been such a strength to me. And
Hmm.
so they've, been some of my resources too. I'll tell them I need and then they give
Hmm.
me ideas and help. So it's just been such
Yeah.
a blessing to have, that tribe in my court.
Yeah. Yeah. That is really cool. So what are you thinking about next? What's up? Do you have a pretty full schedule?
I do. And that's where I'm like, how can I add?
Yeah.
Because my classes, I can do 6 students at a time,
Mhm.
and as you can see in my kitchen, I have it like 3 teams, so it's kind of fun because also these kids are homeschooled. So
Mhm.
I find it important to teach them how to be in teams, how to be a team lead, how to follow instructions together, be accountable. So there's other things I try to teach these students, because my mom, Mamacita comes out.
Yeah.
So, just teaching them how to work together. And, I
Mhm.
keep telling them real life, you have to, work with in jobs and things. You got to work with other people. So I do have 6 students in my classes. So most of my classes have been filling up. So what I have implemented for the like October, November, because my daughter said, you need to add some more classes, because, well, actually, I forgot to mention this. I did get to hire my first employee, so
Yay.
that was yeah, that was exciting. So last month, I hired my daughter.
Mhm.
So she's doing the social media, marketing, and all of that, and, my heart is so happy about that. So she's doing an amazing job, but if she's gonna advertise, I need to create the space.
Mhm.
So I have added, 2 classes a day.
Mhm.
So in October, I'm gonna be doing a morning class and an afternoon class in the same day. So that night, I'm gonna sleep good.
Yeah. Yeah, that is because there's a lot of prep work and like you said, a lot of cleanup afterwards. It's not
Mhm.
just the class teaching time.
Right, exactly. So my plan was to do if I do 2 classes a day, then I'm gonna do the same recipes, but do the smaller group in the morning and the,
Mhm.
teenagers in the afternoon. So it'll cut back to the prep time, but still, I think that'll be great because it's creating space. So
Mhm.
that's what I've got going, for expansion, right now, and then in the first of the year, I would like to look into Maricopa. I
Mhm.
have a lot of homeschool families that are in Maricopa, so there's some opportunities that are happening right now that I've, got some connections, so I'm trying to figure out how we can get that into
Taking your
place,
show on the
so
road?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking, expanding into, online classes and, but it's that feel, that tactile part of it too that is
Mhm,
so important that, but it'd be cool if you could just hang a camera, from the pot rack and be able to do classes. And then,
mhm,
even in person would probably be better, but if you did
mhm,
something like that, um, you could have those available like for co-ops or something that,
mhm,
can't necessarily get to your classes in person,
mhm,
but they could
mhm,
watch a class together
mhm,
online. That would be another income
mhm.
stream for you. So,
You're right, and actually I've had, the gals that are in my court, that's what they have suggested.
mhm,
And plus my husband, he does great videography, so we
mhm, I
have
know he
all
does.
that. It's just a matter of taking the time, and in
Yep.
my mind, I'm like, "You can Google anything and you're gonna learn," but, I you're right. I need to expand on that and find the time, to do
Mhm.
that. And yeah, I am ESA approved. So
Mhm.
that's through the state. So that's been a really big blessing too. And that's another factor in businesses. You research, sometimes you can get those benefits. So
Mhm.
I didn't even know that existed. That was another person through the homeschool program,
Mhm.
and also Stacy, who homeschools, that brought all this. She was the gal that brought this to my attention, and she's
Yeah.
been absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And so that was another big resource, with
Yeah.
ESA. But they have a whole platform for online schools and
Mhm.
classes. So,
Mhm.
it's there. I just have to continue to take steps and make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think you're gonna be in such demand, you're not gonna be able to clone yourself for enough in-person classes. The
Oh,
other
I
thing I
hope
was
so.
gonna
That's nice.
yeah, the other thing, uh, I'm hijacking this interview because Tamela and I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk for a while. I'm thinking too because I homeschooled our 7 kids. Um, so I'm thinking back at the opportunities that from the perspective of a homeschool mom too. Maybe even consider some of the teens that have been taking your classes, opening up an internship program
Mhm.
because they can get, not necessarily credit the way because homeschool credit in Arizona works a little bit differently, but on their college applications or whatever to show that they were an intern in a business and you can show them kind of like the back end and the social media stuff, that your daughter does and stuff like that. What an
Mhm.
education for them. And because it's
Mhm.
an internship, you're not paying them as an employee. You're paying
Mhm.
them in experience.
Mhm.
But if somebody really wanted to dig into that for a semester, I think that would be just
Mhm.
such an awesome opportunity.
That's a great idea because I do have 2 students that they just turned 18 because my
Mhm.
classes go to
Yeah,
17.
and 17.
And so, I had one gal, she was so sad that she can't take any more classes, and I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
you can just sneak in, you can just sign up. Nobody's
Yeah.
gonna, say you're 18." But that would be fantastic. That's a great idea because
Because
she
she
would
could
be.
participate in the younger kids
Yeah.
classes and in the 12 to 17-year-old classes
Mhm.
too as an
Mhm.
intern,
Mhm.
rather than a student.
True. That's a great
So
idea. Thank
that's
you.
my bug to put in your ear this morning.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
So, what do you looking back now? I mean, sometimes I just have to take a deep breath and go, okay, because I'm like you, I'm a planner. I make this long list of all the stuff I still have to learn, all the stuff I haven't gotten done yet. So sometimes I
Mhm.
have to just take a breather and look back and go, wow, look at all the stuff I've learned. I never would have
Mhm.
known in a million years how to do a live interview on StreamYard
Yeah,
back in
true.
the day. You learn as you go.
Mhm.
So, I
Mhm.
mean, looking back now, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently? Or are you amazed at how much stuff you've actually learned? Are you feeling more
I
confident?
am.
Mhm.
I'm amazed how, um, yeah, all the stuff I've learned and how things have fallen into place. I think I wish I would have done it earlier in life,
Mhm.
but everything is for a reason.
Yeah.
Everything comes to, um, comes into place in life,
Yeah.
so these thoughts weren't even in my mind years ago when I was just really stirring. So I know that in my life at that time there was a reason for that season, so to speak.
Right, right.
So, and I learned a lot through those seasons too, just through the people I worked with and all the stuff I worked with in the corporate world. I learned a ton. But yeah, with this, I've also learned a lot about myself,
Mhm.
just because that goes to the core of who you are when you're,
Mhm.
going into
Mhm.
business, 'cause you're figuring out who am I in this situation? What do I like? What don't I? And I'm not comfortable with that. And so it's just doing the hard, really.
Mhm.
It's, embracing that life isn't always easy. It's not all
Mhm.
about convenience and, that easy path. It's just about the hard. And I have learned so much. And I'm still learning so much and have a lot more to learn, but that's been exciting to me because again, I
Mhm.
like change. So that change has been just that light in my fire,
Mhm.
that I'll see a recipe and I'm like, "Oh my word, I wanna learn that so I can
Mhm.
teach that." So it
Mhm.
is, it's a huge learning curve, but, for somebody that's just waiting there, just look at what's right in front of you because that's what I did.
Mhm.
I I was like, "Oh my word, I know how to cook. I don't know how to bake. I know how to read a recipe. So even though I don't know stuff by heart, I can read a recipe.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. I just took what was at hand And then that's when I was like, I can do this. I can do this. So
Yeah.
that's what a lot of people just have to sometimes sit back and say, what is right in front of me? What's that gifting that I've got right now? And instead of looking at that big picture, because that's what I did, just looking at the smaller, thing. And that's what I've been thinking in my heart is little dreams can become your big reality.
Right.
I mean, my kitchen is little,
Yep.
but it's a big reality in my life right now. So I'm just really thankful.
Yeah, that is so cool. And you don't miss the commute, getting up every morning and getting dressed and driving to Tempe.
Not at all. Oh, I'm so thankful I'm off the freeway.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, in a lot of ways, it's like, 2020, 2021, it was, a shake-up year, and everything. The dust is kind of starting to settle a little bit. But I think that made people really stop and think, do I want to be doing this for the rest of my life? Because, I always say what's next is coming, ready or not.
True.
And everybody has a someday dream. It's like, someday I'll do this, someday I'd like to do that. But it's always like, and when is someday? It's not the 8th day of the week. You're never going to get there until you take a little step. And I love what you said too, because a lot of people are like, well, I can't just quit my job and start a business doing what I love. That's just not, reasonable. But you did it, you start with just one thing. It's so overwhelming when you think of all the things that you have to do and all the things you don't know. But when you start just one little step at a time, and then you went part-time, so you kind of had a foot in both worlds, just in case. But there comes a point, I think, when God goes, okay, this is what I have for you. But for you to be able to take it, first of all, you have to let go of this,
Right.
whatever you're holding on to. You have to open your hands. And then it's not like he puts it in your hand. There's a little gap. There's always a little gap there where you have to take that leap of faith and say, okay, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to trust you.
Exactly. And that's exactly, I went part-time for about a year. And man, that was tough because, I would do my class and then the corporate, I was just doing all that. And that's exactly, it was like, okay, the Lord was like, okay, you ready to really fully obey, or are you just going to keep doing this? Yeah. And that's when I was like, Lord, your word says all I need is faith the size of a mustard seed.
Mustard, yeah, exactly.
I went and bought a jar of mustard seeds.
Did you?
Because I was like, certainly, I hope to goodness my faith is bigger than a mustard seeds. But that's all he asked us. So I had that jar. I still have it in my cupboards. When I open my cupboards, there's a jar of mustard seeds because it's a reminder. And actually, my daughter bought me a necklace for Christmas with the mustard seed.
Oh, because that's so cool.
When I decided to, truly say, okay, I'm going to take that step. And it was amazing because, of course, I did it afraid. Of course, it was hard. But when I said I'm done and I closed and I mailed my computer off, the peace that came over me again, it wasn't like I was so free of fear and I just was, eating lollipops and jumping on clouds. I was, but I had that inner peace knowing that mustard seed is all I'm required to have. And so that's why I can say, Lord, I do believe, but help me with my doubt. And that's where, God he comes in and, some days I wake up going, oh, my stars, why did I have kids baklava today? What was I right. I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, Lord, take the way, oh, my stars. And, it's just been so fun to see him actually, just the peace that comes, the fun that comes, and things have just been falling into place, but not only physically, but in the heart. So it's just been a lot of fun, just a lot of joy into my heart.
Yeah. And especially I'm thinking for the kids, for a kid to go, hey, you know what I did today? I made baklava. Just the confidence, and I wonder, I'd love to be a fly on the wall. And, I'm sure you probably talk to their parents, but it's like, what is the ripple effect for, them feeling like they could accomplish something in the kitchen? And I'm sure you teach them, it doesn't always come out as we planned.
Right.
Sometimes there's, the good, bad, and the ugly, but I can just see that having such a ripple effect and building confidence in other areas that they can do hard things, or they can do things they don't understand or they're not good at, with some practice. And and
And that's
whatever.
what actually I do say to them. When we start, we read over the recipe. Some of them are
Mhm.
like, you expect us to
Yeah.
make this today,
Yeah.
because I will make a demonstration so they can see what they're headed to, because I want them to have a visual of what is expected by the end of
Yeah.
class. So it's been fun to see them like, oh my stars, that's overwhelming. How in the world do you expect me to do that? By the end of class, they make it, and then they take it to their family. And it's just been so fun. And actually, when you said that about baklava, just the other day, Monday, we made sushi. And so they made dragon roll
I don't know how to make
sushi.
sushi.
Come on over. We did dragon roll. We did spicy tuna in Philadelphia. And then the gal came on Thursday class, and she goes, "It was so fun to go to my co-op and say I'm having sushi for lunch that I made." I said, "See, that's exciting because that's because the kids were amazed that I made my own sushi."
Yeah, and just
So it is.
expanding
It's
their
fun.
palate beyond, In-N-Out Burger has gotta be
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, I do. I have students that are like, I don't eat chicken, I don't eat meat, I don't do, this and that. And I'm like, okay. But at the end of class, all I ask is for you to take one bite of the thing that you made, and then you
Mhm.
can, judge it. And 9 times out of 10, they are like, I like this. And so it's been fun. I have a mom that says, that's why I send them to your class, because they're amazed that they eat that, chicken or the guacamole, because they can't stand avocados. And
Yeah.
so it's just been so fun to see that too, and them, changing their palate. And I told them, I said, if you don't try things, you're missing out on so much adventure of life.
Mhm, mhm.
Because when you taste foods, it transports you to those countries and you learn. And so I try to do that too, is with the countries, the global flavors. We learn about their spices
Mhm.
and the origin of the recipe. I mean, there's just so much fun stuff that I
Yeah.
can incorporate with, and I try, but
Mhm.
I'm sure there's a lot more.
Yeah, there's always more.
Yes, there
But
is.
that keeps your imagination going too, and the curiosity. I mean, it's when the kids come in and they're curious about what are we gonna do today, and they're excited
Yeah.
instead of, what do we have to make?
Yeah.
Or
Nope,
something
they're
like that.
they're excited, so it's been fun.
Yeah, and I see so much of that in your personality, just like when your descriptions of your cakes when Tamela makes, cakes for somebody like on a commission basis where they're like, "Okay, I'm having a party for this person and this is kind of what they're into and whatever." She comes up with these amazing creations and then she posts them and describes them like a fine wine for the rest of us. They're very detailed.
Thanks
It's
for
just fun.
appreciating that. Sometimes I'm like, "How do I describe this cake?"
Yes. No, it is always so fun. So if you
Mm.
guys, if you want to hook up with me, you can check me out on LinkedIn. Um, Happy to connect with you there, just under my name, or on Facebook and Instagram, same thing. It's under my name. Instagram is Valerie Mummer 3. And that's my little inside joke because I know that I have a third of my life at least left. And for people my age, I don't want people to go, "Oh, it's too late. I love what Tamala is doing, but it's just too late for me. I'm not ready to start over." That's a bunch of baloney. So if you divide your life up into thirds, you have at least a third of your life left. So don't waste it just on the waiting list for the bucket list. No pun, even though that's what our cake company's called. So you can hop into my Facebook group, which is called Someday the 8th Day of the Week. It's really easy to find. Just pop that into search in Facebook, and it'll bring up my group. And then I'm going to pop Tamala's website back on. And like I said, it's just so fun to hang out on her website. She's not doing anything other than locally yet. But who knows? But yeah, get on her website and sign up for her newsletter because she has great stuff in her newsletter and recipes. And I know with fall coming, she always has amazing stuff that you can make for fall. So super, super fun. Anything else you want anybody to know? Encouragement to
No, but
leave
I
them
just
with?
wanna say thank you to you, Valerie, for inviting me, and you are actually an inspiration as well. I mean, you took
Oh,
big
you're so
steps,
sweet.
and you have just been impacting so many people's lives, so you are a gem, and I'm just proud of you too. I mean, it's
Thank
exciting to
you.
see what you've been doing. So, and your retreats always look amazing,
Mhm.
and
Gotta
so
get
I
you up
just
there one
think,
day. Now
I
that you don't have
know.
to you don't have to request vacation time 6 or 8 months in advance. We're gonna get you to one.
Right. Just 2 months since I book out classes.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Just don't do one in October. I've got a wedding coming and a grandbaby coming.
Yep, me too, me too. But isn't it nice to be able to take the time to have, the weddings and the babies and grandbabies and everything else? It's like you have the freedom to say,
Mhm,
"I'm taking this time off,
mhm.
I'm not gonna do anything because I'm all in family
Yeah.
and nobody else can tell you no."
Yes, I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, that's exciting. Exciting to see your family doing
Yeah.
that too. So
Thank
hop onto the
you.
website. You will really enjoy it. Like I said, it's just one of the prettiest websites I've ever seen. So,
Thank
but
you.
thanks for hanging out with me this morning on a
Thank
Friday.
you. It was
Fun.
great.
Yeah, and we live like a mile and a half for each other, so I might just run over to her house and sit in her
You
kitchen in
should
person.
come to class.
Okay, thanks, Tamela, and we'll see
Thank
everybody soon.
you.
Bye.